In this video, we're looking at Middle America and the Caribbean. This is most of the region right here. And if you think about sort of the component parts, we can think about the Caribbean Sea islands and the other islands sort of in this general area. We've got also what we often call Central America, which goes from Guatemala to the southern tip of Panama. And then we can see also Mexico here. For our purposes, we can think about Mexico as comprising Middle America along with the Central American countries. But even that's just an illustration of how different geographers are going to look at and categorize countries in different regions sometimes, and divide the world into different regions in different ways. Now, we also can think here about the major geographic trends and what we want to try to understand, have a good geographic perspective on the region. One is the geology of the region, especially in Central America and in the Caribbean. You have a lot of seismic activity, the tectonic plates under the earth. There's zones here that make this an area with some rather devastating earthquakes. Many of the countries in Central America and in the Caribbean have a lot of poverty, and therefore when the major earthquakes come, it can be really devastating and kill a lot of people. It's very sad. One of the famous earthquakes in this region recently was the 2010 earthquake in Haiti. There's another one in 2021. Here we see the aftermath of the 2021 earthquake, or one photo of the aftermath of the 2021 earthquake. Another aspect of this region is the influence of colonization. John Rennie Short, who is the author of a different World Regional Geography textbook than the one we're using, actually starts his regions with Central America and the Caribbean because he says this is the area where the modern world was forged. This is where Columbus lands on a small island in the Caribbean and then comes back 3 more times. And this is where the Spanish colonial project really begins in the Americas, expands from the Caribbean into Mexico and the conquest of Mexico, and then goes on to South America. So there's a fundamental transformation of much of this region, both Middle America and South America and parts of the Caribbean, by the Spanish colonization. And then other European countries will also have their own colonies in the Caribbean, certainly in North America as well. But this is really important culturally for the region. If you think about Haiti, for example, Haiti is ruled by France for a long time, and the religion there in Haiti, the religious scene is transformed. The language is transformed. Today, a lot of Haitians speak Creole, which is a sort of combination of French with the language of the people there. It was a place with where many enslaved people were brought over from Africa. That really transformed the culture there. The religion of Voodoo or Vodun is also a sort of combination of, as far as I understand it, African and Roman Catholic and Native American religions. And so this is an area that is profoundly culturally transformed by European colonization. In other places, you have the influence of Spanish. Spanish is widely spoken in Central and Middle America, and of course South America as well. And then it's very heavily influenced also by Catholicism, because the Spanish were eager to spread Roman Catholicism to the peoples that they had ruled, under their colonial empire. Okay, so this is an area definitely that has that influence. It's even the kinds of crops that are grown there, the political systems that are put in place, the political culture. All these things are influenced by being part of the Spanish Empire from roughly the 1500s to the mid or sometimes even the late 1800s. And so there's a lot that's important here to think about. The other aspect is that I want to think about here is the proximity of this region to the United States. This map here gives you a little bit of a bigger picture. If you say maybe starting in the very late 1800s and then into the 20th century and up to into the 21st century as well, the United States has been an important world power and certainly is a very important regional power that affects Mexico and the Central American countries and the Caribbean. Okay, and you can see that even before the late 1800s, the United States and Mexico fight a war called the Mexican-American War, or the Mexican War by Americans. And at one point, Mexico had California and Nevada and Utah, much of Colorado, I believe, Arizona and New Mexico, and at one point even Texas too, and all that from the annexation of Texas and then the Mexican-American War becomes part of the United States. So Mexico used to be much bigger. And so global and even regional powers can have a big impact on this region. There's a quote attributed to Porfirio Diaz, the ruler of Mexico in the late 1800s and into the early 20th century, that he said something like, "Poor Mexico, so far from God and so close to the United States." So he keenly felt the presence of American power. It's not just American military power, but also American economic power that's been very influential here. There's been a lot of American investment in things like fruit companies, like the United Fruit Company, that had so much control over banana production in Central America, American investment in Cuban sugar up to the Cuban Revolution, American investment in Mexican oil up until the 1930s and the nationalization of oil by the Mexican government. And this has led to some tensions here too. The Cuban and Mexican revolutions and other revolutions in this area are complex events. It's not just as simple as American power being in these regions, but it does have a role. Central America, politically and economically, is going to be very Central, Middle America, the Caribbean. They're very going to be influenced because of how close the United States is and how large and powerful the United States becomes by, the mid 1800s. So it's important to think about these factors. They're very controversial in a lot of ways. Some people are, glad to say that the United States has intervened, has supported anti-communist movements in, say, Central American countries. Other people think those were big mistakes. So it's not so much my point here to talk about whether those are right or wrong things, but to talk about the overall influence of the United States in the region. So as you read about Central America and the Caribbean, you're going to see that the region has a lot of different people groups and at the same time is deeply influenced by the Spanish and other European colonization, which will have major economic and cultural and political impacts.